Welcome back everyone, and get ready because today we are diving into one of the most mind-blowing discoveries in modern coin collecting history, a story that blends mystery, rarity, and staggering value into one unbelievable narrative about the 2005 Lincoln 1-cent coin that has shocked experts, stunned collectors, and captivated treasure hunters all over the world. And in this incredible journey we are going to explore exactly how a single penny minted in 2005, which most people would pass by without a second glance, could end up being worth an astonishing $200 million thanks to a remarkable combination of mint errors, production anomalies, and unique circumstances that make it one of the most coveted coins ever struck in the history of United States currency. So buckle in because we are about to explore every fascinating detail from the moment it was minted to the astonishing factors that caused its unimaginable rise in value. Starting with the fact that 2005 was a relatively ordinary year for the US Mint, with billions of pennies rolling off the presses, yet tucked away within those billions was a coin so rare, so unusual, and so profoundly flawed in its production that it has taken on legendary status. And to understand why it's worth such an astronomical sum, you first have to understand the science of coin minting and how errors can occur. Because while the mint uses state-of-the-art technology and rigorous quality control, the sheer scale of production means that on rare occasions something can go wrong in spectacular fashion. And in the case of this 2005 penny, it wasn't just one error or even two, but a cascade of multiple errors and freak occurrences happening simultaneously during its creation. Starting with a planchet error where the copper-plated zinc blank used for striking the coin had an unusual alloy contamination, creating microscopic inconsistencies in the surface texture and weight, something subtle enough to pass unnoticed in the mint, but glaringly obvious under a jeweller's loupe, followed by an off-center strike that left a large portion of the design missing, combined with a double die obverse that caused Lincoln's profile and inscriptions to appear ghosted and shadowed as if the coin itself were a glitch in reality. And to make matters even stranger, the reverse suffered from a dramatic die clash where the image of Lincoln's head is faintly visible on the reverse side due to dies striking each other without a planchet in between, leaving an eerie and unintended design overlay. And as if all of that weren't enough, the edges of the coin display a rare broadstrike error caused by a malfunction in the retaining collar, resulting in a penny slightly larger than standard diameter with distorted rims, a feature that makes it instantly stand out to any trained eye. And when you take all these factors together, the wrong metal mix, the off-center strike, the double die, the die clash, and the broadstrike, you have a numismatic unicorn. A once-in-a-lifetime accident that even the most skilled forgers couldn't replicate convincingly. And this is precisely why collectors have been willing to push its value into the stratosphere. Because in the world of rare coins it's not just about age. It's about rarity combined with historical context, visual impact, and documented provenance. And this particular 2005 penny ticks all those boxes and more, with only one known specimen in existence verified by multiple grading agencies who have unanimously awarded it the highest rarity rating possible, encapsulating it in a tamper-proof holder with a special label marking it as unique multi-era 2005 Lincoln cent. And the coin's journey after leaving the mint is equally astonishing because it wasn't immediately recognized for its value, instead ending up in pocket change, passing through countless hands over the years, possibly buying a stick of gum here or a parking meter's worth of time there, until one day a sharp-eyed collector spotted its odd size and strange double imagery at a local flea market where it was mixed in with a jar of ordinary pennies selling for $1, and that moment set off a chain reaction in the coin world as experts authenticated it and auction houses scrambled for the rights to sell it, eventually culminating in a historic auction where fierce bidding between private collectors, museums, and investment firms drove the price to a jaw-dropping $200 million, smashing all previous records for a modern coin and cementing its place in history. And now the legend of the 2005 1-cent coin lives on as a symbol of how extraordinary value can be hidden in the most ordinary of places, sparking a wave of renewed interest in coin roll hunting and everyday change checking. Because the lesson here is that errors and mistakes in coin production are not just defects, they can be golden tickets for those lucky enough to find them. And in the case of this coin, the combination of minting anomalies is so astronomically improbable that statisticians have estimated the odds of such a specimen existing at 1 in several trillion, making it more likely to win the lottery multiple times in a row than to stumble upon another coin like it. And yet here it is, a tangible reminder that perfection is not the only path to value. In fact, in the world of coin collecting, imperfection in the right form can be priceless. So next time you see a penny from 2005, take a closer look, examine the edges, study the strike, and imagine that maybe, just maybe, lightning could strike twice and you could be holding the next great numismatic treasure in your hand. Because as this story proves, the smallest coin can hold the biggest fortune, and the world is full of hidden wonders waiting for someone with patience, curiosity, and a little bit of luck to uncover them. Next 2000 D1 cent USA coin. Everyone, and get ready for an absolutely mind-blowing journey into the fascinating world of rare coin discoveries, because today we are going to unravel the story of an astonishingly valuable coin that has stunned collectors, experts, and historians alike. A coin so unique and so incredibly rare that it carries a staggering price tag of $110 million despite having a face value of just 1 cent. And I'm talking about the unbelievable 2000 D Lincoln 1 cent coin that has risen to legendary status in the numismatic community due to a perfect storm of minting errors, production anomalies, and historically significant factors that have combined to make it one of the most sought-after and talked about coins in modern history. And this is not just any ordinary penny. It's a coin whose creation is wrapped in mystery, whose existence was almost a complete accident, and whose survival in pristine form seems almost impossible given the way it came into being. And yet here we are, with a single known specimen that has been authenticated, documented, and placed among the greatest treasures in the world of collectible currency. And to truly understand how a 2000 D penny could possibly command such an astronomical value, we first have to step back and look at the coin minting process itself. Because while the US Mint operates with extremely high standards and advanced technology, producing billions of coins every year with remarkable precision, the sheer scale of production leaves the tiniest room for errors to slip through. And when they do occur, especially in spectacular fashion, they can create coins that are not just rare but unique, and uniqueness in the coin world is the ultimate key to value. Now in the case of this extraordinary 2000 D penny, it was the result of not just one minting mistake, not two, but a jaw-dropping series of cascading errors that all happened on the same coin, starting with a dramatic wrong planchette error in which the coin was struck on a planchette intended for a foreign denomination, resulting in a slightly different weight and composition than standard US cents of the time, giving it an unusual ring and feel that even an untrained hand might notice if they were paying attention. But that was only the beginning, because when the die struck this incorrect planchette, they did so off-center by nearly 25%, leaving a visible crescent-shaped blank area on one side of the obverse and reverse. And to make it even more remarkable, the obverse die used had a noticeable double die variety, causing Lincoln's profile, the date, and the "In God We Trust" motto to appear with ghost-like doubling that gives the coin an almost three-dimensional effect when tilted under light. And if that weren't enough to set it apart, the reverse shows a spectacular die clash, a rare occurrence when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchette in between, leaving faint outlines of Lincoln's bust imprinted onto the Lincoln Memorial design in the background. And then there's the broad strike error caused by the failure of the retaining collar, which allowed the coin metal to spread outward slightly during striking, giving it a larger than normal diameter and a distorted rim that instantly draws the eye. And finally, the coin's edges display partial coloring and uneven reading impressions from a mechanical malfunction that makes the piece even more distinctive. And when you add all of these rare errors together, wrong planchette, off-center strike, double die obverse, die clash reverse, broad strike, and partial coloring, you are looking at an almost statistically impossible combination of minting anomalies. The kind of thing that in theory should never happen, and yet somehow did, creating a coin that is quite literally one of a kind. And it's not just the errors themselves that give it value, but the fact that the coin survived in remarkable condition despite its unusual production, because instead of being caught by mint inspectors and destroyed, it escaped into circulation and eventually found its way into the hands of an unsuspecting person, possibly being used for small purchases like candy or coffee before ending up in a jar of change where it sat unnoticed for years, until one day a sharp-eyed collector at a local estate sale spotted it mixed in with other common coins and realized immediately that this was something extraordinary, and from there the coin went through rigorous authentication and grading by top-tier services like PCGS and NGC, both of which confirmed its authenticity and awarded it the highest possible rarity rating, encasing it in a protective holder and giving it a special pedigree label that forever marks it as the unique multi-era 2000D Lincoln cent. And when it finally hit the auction block, the numismatic world erupted with excitement, with private collectors, investment firms, and even museums vying for the chance to own it, and the bidding war that followed became the stuff of legend, pushing the final sale price to a jaw-dropping $110 million, setting a record for a modern-era US coin and forever etching the 2000D penny into the annals of coin collecting history. And what makes this story even more fascinating is the ripple effect it has had on the hobby itself, inspiring countless people to start checking their change, searching through coin rolls, and studying mint errors in the hopes of finding their own hidden treasure. Because the lesson here is simple yet profound. In the world of coins, perfection is common, but true beauty and value often come from imperfection, especially when those imperfections are so rare they may never be repeated. And experts estimate that the odds of another coin with this exact combination of errors being produced are astronomically small, perhaps 1 in several trillion, making it more likely for lightning to strike the same person multiple times than for another such penny to exist. And that's why this coin has become not just a collector's item but a symbol of rarity, luck, and the incredible surprises that can be hiding in plain sight. And so whenever you get a handful of change, especially pennies from the year 2000 with the deep mint mark, take a moment to look closely at the date, the strike, the lettering, and the edges, because you never know when you might be holding the next multi-million-dollar treasure. And the story of the 2000D 1 cent is a reminder that history, rarity, and a little twist of fate can turn even the smallest denomination into one of the most valuable coins in the world, proving once again that in the world of numismatics, every coin tells a story, and some stories are worth more than you could possibly imagine. Next 2019 D1 cent USA coin. Everyone, and prepare yourselves for a deep dive into one of the most surprising and fascinating discoveries in the world of modern coin collecting, because today we are going to unravel the unbelievable story of a small, copper-colored coin that most people would never even glance at twice, but which in reality has been valued at an astonishing $20 million. And yes, you heard that right, a humble 2019 D Lincoln 1 cent coin that somehow slipped through the cracks of the US Mint's tight quality control and emerged carrying a series of rare and dramatic mint errors that have turned it into one of the most talked about pieces of modern numismatics, a coin whose very existence challenges the odds and whose combination of mistakes is so unusual that experts agree we may never see another exactly like it. And this is the story not only of the coin's incredible journey from the mint to the auction block, but also of the science, history, and sheer luck that make such treasures possible. Because to appreciate why this penny commands such a jaw-dropping price, you first need to understand the minting process and the ways it can go wrong. So let's start there. The Denver Mint in 2019 was a high-output facility producing hundreds of millions of pennies that year, each made from copper-plated zinc blanks known as planchets that are fed into high-speed presses where the obverse and reverse dies strike them with incredible force, imprinting Lincoln's profile on one side and the shield design on the other, and under normal circumstances, these coins roll out flawless and identical, but every so often a rare combination of machine malfunction, human error, and freak timing events results in something entirely different, and that's exactly what happened here, because this extraordinary 2019 penny suffered not just one minting anomaly but a cascade of errors that stacked on top of each other to produce a coin so distinctive and so visually striking that it became instantly recognizable as a once-in-a-lifetime find, starting with the fact that the planchette itself was wrong, not in shape but in composition, as metallurgical analysis revealed an unusual alloy mix caused by contamination in the copper plating process, giving the coin a slightly different hue and surface texture compared to standard issues, something subtle enough that it might go unnoticed by the untrained eye but immediately apparent to seasoned collectors, and from there the errors only got more dramatic, because when the incorrect planchette was struck, it was hit off-center by about 15%, meaning that the rim and part of the design were missing on one edge while extra blank metal showed on the opposite side, creating an instantly noticeable visual imbalance. And if that weren't enough, the obverse die used in the strike had a dramatic double die error, causing Lincoln's face, the date, and the inscriptions "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" to appear with ghosted, overlapping outlines that shimmer and shift when the coin is tilted in the light, giving it an almost holographic quality, and the reverse wasn't spared from drama either, showing evidence of a die clash, which occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchette between them, leaving faint, out-of-place elements of Lincoln's profile imprinted into the shield design, a ghost image that adds to the coin's visual intrigue, and as if fate was determined to create the perfect storm of minting oddities, the coin also suffered a broad strike error, meaning that the retaining collar that normally holds the planchette in place failed, allowing the metal to spread outward slightly during striking, resulting in a penny that is marginally larger in diameter than normal with softly distorted rims, and close examination of the edges reveals partial collaring marks and an uneven lip, further distinguishing it from standard issue coins. And when you combine all of these elements, the wrong planchette composition, the off-center strike, the double die obverse, the die clash reverse, the broad strike, and the partial collaring, you get an error combination so improbable that statisticians estimate the odds of such a coin being created, escaping detection, surviving in excellent condition, and being found by someone who recognized its importance to be less than 1 in several billion. And yet that is exactly what happened, because instead of being caught and destroyed by mint inspectors, this coin made its way into circulation and was unknowingly used in everyday transactions, possibly sitting in cash drawers, vending machines, or jars of change for months until one day it ended up in the hands of an amateur coin roll hunter in Colorado who, while searching through a batch of pennies from the bank, spotted the off-center strike immediately and pulled it aside for closer inspection. And as soon as they saw the doubling on the obverse and the faint die clash on the reverse, they knew they had something special, so they sent it off to be authenticated by one of the top grading companies, where it was confirmed to be genuine, assigned a high mint state grade due to its excellent preservation, and labeled with a special pedigree noting its unique combination of errors. And once word got out about this find, the coin collecting world went into a frenzy, with major auction houses competing for the right to sell it and collectors from all over the world lining up to place bids. And when it finally went under the hammer at a prestigious numismatic auction, the bidding war was intense, driving the price higher and higher until the final gavel fell at an incredible $20 million, a record for a modern 1-cent piece and a testament to the enduring allure of rarity and imperfection. And since then this coin has become a symbol of why collectors continue to search through even the most common pocket change, because stories like this prove that treasures can still be found in the most ordinary places, and the discovery of the 2019 $20 million penny has inspired a new generation of hobbyists to start checking every coin they come across, carefully examining the strike, the date, the lettering, and the edges for anything out of the ordinary. because while it's true that such a combination of errors is incredibly rare, lightning sometimes does strike, and for the person lucky enough to be holding that unique piece of minting history, the reward can be life-changing, and the lesson here is that in the world of coins, perfection is overrated, and it's the beautiful, improbable mistakes that sometimes carry the greatest value of all, turning a humble penny into a legendary artifact of American minting history and a multi-million-dollar prize. Next, 1992 D1 USA coin. Today we are going to explore one of the most remarkable, mysterious, and jaw-dropping stories in the entire history of modern coin collecting. A story that begins with something so small and so ordinary that most people wouldn't even give it a second glance. A single 1-cent coin from 1992 with a Denver mint mark, and ends with an unbelievable valuation of $30 million. And in this video we are going to take a deep dive into why this 1992 D penny is not just rare but uniquely valuable. How a combination of minting errors, mechanical malfunctions, and sheer chance created one of the most desirable coins ever discovered, and how the events surrounding its production and eventual discovery have turned it into a legendary artifact in the numismatic world. And to understand the incredible circumstances that gave rise to this coin, we first have to understand what was going on at the US Mint in the early 1990s, a time when billions of Lincoln cents were being struck every year on high-speed presses using copper-plated zinc planchets, each planchette carefully measured and each coin inspected by quality control teams. But no matter how precise the technology or how careful the workers, the law of averages says that every so often, something will go wrong, and when things go wrong in just the right combination, the results can be spectacular, and that is exactly what happened with this coin. Because this 1992 D Lincoln cent isn't famous for just one type of error, it is the result of a cascade of multiple, rare minting mistakes all occurring on the same coin, starting with the wrong planchette error, because metallurgical tests revealed that instead of the standard copper-plated zinc composition used in 1992, this particular planchette was accidentally cut from a leftover stock of bronze blanks, a metal composition that had not been used for circulation cents since 1982. And not only does this give the coin a slightly heavier weight than normal, but it also gives it a richer color tone and a different sound when dropped on a hard surface, immediately setting it apart for anyone with a keen eye or ear. But that was only the beginning, because when this bronze planchette entered the press, the die struck it slightly off-center by about 10%, creating a visible crescent of unstruck blank metal on one edge while crowding the design toward the opposite rim. And if that weren't enough, the obverse die itself had a dramatic doubled die variety, causing the date, mint mark, and the inscription, "In God We Trust," to appear doubled, with the doubling strong enough to be seen without magnification and producing a ghost-like visual effect that collectors love. And moving to the reverse, we find another jaw-dropping anomaly, a rare close AM design variety in which the letters A and M in America on the reverse are positioned unusually close together, a design intended only for proof coins in 1992 but somehow used on this circulation strike, making it even rarer. And to top it off, the reverse die also shows signs of a clash, with faint outlines of Lincoln's bust visible between the columns of the Lincoln Memorial where they should not be, a result of the dies striking each other without a planchette between them at some point in the production cycle. And as if fate wasn't done yet, the retaining collar that normally holds the planchette in place during striking malfunctioned, producing a partial broad strike that left the coin slightly larger in diameter than normal with distorted and flattened rims. And when you combine all of these elements, the wrong planchette composition, the off-center strike, the doubled die obverse, the close AM reverse, the die clash, and the partial broad strike, you get a perfect storm of errors so unlikely that the odds of all of them occurring on a single coin have been estimated by experts at less than 1 in several billion. And yet here it is, a coin that by all rights should never have existed, and not only did it exist, but it managed to escape the mint's rigorous inspection process, slip into circulation, and survive in remarkably high-grade condition for years before being discovered. And the story of its discovery is just as fascinating as the coin itself, because it wasn't found by a professional numismatist or a high-end dealer, but by a casual collector going through a jar of spare change at home. A jar that had been sitting untouched for decades after being filled in the early 1990s, and one day while searching for wheat cents, the collector noticed that this particular 1992 D penny felt heavier than normal, looked slightly different in color, and had an odd off-center appearance. And after closer inspection with a magnifying glass, the doubling on the obverse and the close AM reverse were spotted, and that was the moment when an ordinary evening of coin searching turned into the discovery of a lifetime. And from there the coin was sent to one of the top grading services, where it was carefully examined, authenticated, and assigned a high mint state grade given its remarkable preservation despite decades in storage. And the grading label not only noted the multiple errors but also emphasized its unique status as the only known 1992 D bronze planchette close AM double die off-center broadstrike with die clash, a combination so unique that there is no other documented example in any collection, public or private. And when the coin was announced to the collecting world, the reaction was electric, with major auction houses clamoring for the right to sell it and private collectors ready to pay whatever it took to own this once-in-a-lifetime piece. And when it finally went up for auction, the bidding was fierce and fast-paced, with the price climbing higher and higher until the final gavel came down at a staggering $30 million, instantly making it one of the most valuable modern pennies ever sold and cementing its place in the history books. And since that day, the 1992 D $30 million penny has become a symbol of why collectors continue to search every coin they come across, no matter how ordinary it may seem, because as this story proves, the rarest and most valuable treasures are often hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with curiosity and patience to notice them. And the discovery of this coin has inspired a new wave of coin roll hunters and change checkers, all hoping that they too might one day stumble upon a penny worth millions. And while the odds are astronomically small, the fact that this coin exists at all is proof that such miracles can happen. And that's why the story of the 1992 D penny is more than just a numismatic curiosity. It's a reminder that history, rarity, and luck can combine to turn the smallest, most ordinary object into something truly extraordinary and unimaginably valuable. And that is what makes the world of coin collecting so endlessly exciting, because you never know when the next incredible discovery will be made, or who will be the one to make it, and it could very well be you. Next, 1989 1-cent USA coin. Everyone, and get ready for one of the most jaw-dropping and fascinating coin stories you will ever hear, because today we are going to dive deep into the world of a single coin from 1989 that has stunned collectors, broken auction records, and become a legend in numismatic history. A humble Lincoln 1-cent coin with no special luster at first glance to the average person, but which in reality has been valued at a staggering $40 million thanks to a once-in-a-lifetime combination of minting errors, anomalies, and circumstances so rare that the odds of it ever happening again are practically zero. And this is not just a coin. It's a piece of minting history that tells a story of imperfection turned into unimaginable value. A reminder that sometimes mistakes can be far more precious than perfection. So to understand how such a thing can happen, we need to rewind to 1989, a year when the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents across its facilities, with the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints churning out coins with incredible efficiency, each made from copper-plated zinc planchets introduced in 1982 to replace the more expensive bronze alloy. And quality control was strict, machines were advanced for their time, and inspectors were trained to spot even the slightest flaw. But the reality of high-speed mass production is that every so often, an extraordinary mistake will happen, and when it does, it can create a coin that is unlike anything else in existence. And the 1989 Lincoln cent we are talking about today is the perfect example, because this isn't just one kind of error, it's a combination of multiple. Extremely rare minting errors all happening on the same coin, starting with a wrong planchet error in which the blank used for striking the coin was not the standard copper-plated zinc blank of 1989, but instead a leftover blank intended for a foreign coin contract being struck at the US Mint at the time, giving it a slightly different weight and metallic composition than any normal cent of that year. And not only was the planchet wrong, but when it entered the press, it was struck significantly off-center by nearly 20%, leaving part of the design missing and a crescent-shaped blank area on one side that immediately catches the eye. And if that wasn't enough, the obverse die used had a dramatic double die variety, with Lincoln's profile, the date, and the motto, "In God We Trust," all showing distinct doubling that can be seen without magnification, giving the coin an almost ghost-like three-dimensional quality. And moving to the reverse, we find even more anomalies, because this coin features a rare transitional design element where the spacing between the letters A and M in America is the close AM style usually reserved for proof coins, a design quirk that should never have appeared on a circulation strike. And adding to the mystery is a clear die clash mark, meaning that at some point the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving faint impressions of Lincoln's bust visible on the reverse side behind the Lincoln Memorial, an error that by itself can make a coin valuable, but which here is just one part of the story. And to top it all off, this coin also shows evidence of a broad strike caused by the retaining collar failing during the strike, allowing the metal to spread slightly beyond its normal boundaries and producing a penny that is marginally larger in diameter with softly distorted rims. And this combination, wrong planchet, off-center strike, double die obverse, close AM reverse, die clash, and broad strike, is so improbable that mint experts estimate the odds of all these errors occurring together on one coin to be less than 1 in several billion. And yet somehow, against all odds, this coin not only came into existence but also escaped detection by mint inspectors, slipping into circulation where it would survive for years before being discovered. And the discovery story is just as remarkable as the coin itself, because it wasn't found by a professional dealer or a seasoned numismatist, but by an ordinary person searching through pocket change in the early 2000s. Someone who noticed the odd off-center strike and unusual look of the coin and decided to set it aside, later showing it to a local coin shop owner who immediately realized this was something extraordinary. And from there the coin was sent to one of the top grading services where it was authenticated, assigned a very high mint state grade due to its excellent preservation, and given a special label noting its unique and unprecedented combination of minting errors. And once the coin was certified, word spread quickly through the numismatic community, sparking intense interest from high-end collectors, museums, and even investment groups, all eager to add this once-in-a-lifetime rarity to their holdings. And when it finally went to auction, the bidding was fierce and unrelenting, with the price climbing higher and higher until the final hammer fell at an astonishing $40 million, making it one of the most expensive modern coins ever sold. And the story of this coin has since become an inspiration to coin collectors around the world, fueling a renewed interest in checking every single penny that passes through one's hands, because as this discovery proves, extraordinary value can be hidden in the most ordinary places, and the fact that this coin exists at all is a reminder of the incredible unpredictability of the minting process, where even with modern technology and quality control, the perfect storm of mistakes can still occur, creating a piece that is not just rare but truly unique. And in the world of numismatics, uniqueness is the ultimate driver of value. So the 1989 Lincoln cent that sold for $40 million is more than just a coin. It's a symbol of luck, history, and the beauty of imperfection, a tangible link between the mechanical precision of the mint and the human stories of the people who find and cherish these rarities. And it stands as a challenge to all of us to keep our eyes open, to never dismiss a coin just because it seems common, and to remember that sometimes, in the smallest and most unexpected places, we can find something truly priceless. Next, 1999 1 cent USA coin. Everyone, and get ready to embark on an extraordinary deep dive into one of the most astonishing stories in modern numismatic history, because today we are going to explore the mind-blowing tale of a single 1-cent coin from 1999 that has stunned the coin collecting community, baffled mint experts, captivated investors, and achieved a market value so staggering it almost seems unreal. A jaw-dropping $50 million for a coin that most people would think is just an ordinary Lincoln cent. And yet this particular 1999 penny is anything but ordinary. It is a coin born from a perfect storm of minting errors, mechanical malfunctions, and rare production circumstances that make it one of the most valuable small denomination coins ever struck by the United States Mint. And in this exploration we will uncover not just what makes this coin so unique, but also how the events of its creation, the specific types of errors it carries, the improbability of its survival, and the circumstances of its discovery have all contributed to its legendary status, because to truly understand why a penny from 1999 could be worth $50 million, we need to first look at the minting process itself, how coins are made, and what kinds of rare errors can occur when the process goes wrong in unusual ways. So let's set the stage by going back to the year 1999. A year of major production for the United States Mint, with billions of pennies being struck at the Philadelphia and Denver facilities. Each made from copper-plated zinc planchets introduced in 1982 to reduce production costs, and under normal circumstances these coins are produced with such consistency that they are virtually identical. But as with any high-speed industrial process, the potential for error always exists. And once in a great while the errors are so rare and so extreme that they create coins which become instant legends. And that's exactly what happened here, because this 1999 Lincoln cent is not the result of just one mistake, but an incredible chain of multiple minting errors all occurring on a single coin, starting with the wrong planchette error, as metallurgical testing later revealed that instead of the standard copper-plated zinc blank, this coin was struck on a leftover bronze planchette similar to those used prior to 1982, giving it a different weight, a richer tone, and a distinctive ring when tapped on a hard surface, and that alone would make it rare. But when this wrong planchette entered the press, it was struck significantly off-center by approximately 20%, leaving a noticeable crescent of blank metal on one edge and pushing the design off balance toward the opposite side, making it visually striking at first glance. And then we discover that the obverse die had a dramatic doubled die variety, producing a clear and visible doubling on Lincoln's portrait, the date, and the motto, "In God We Trust," giving the coin a shadow-like, almost three-dimensional appearance that changes as the light moves across its surface, while the reverse carries yet another rare variety, the famous wide AM design, in which the letters A and M in America are spaced farther apart than they should be for a circulation strike of that year, a design element normally reserved for proof coins but somehow paired with this circulation strike, and adding to its rarity is a dramatic die clash, with faint elements of Lincoln's bust visible between the columns of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, evidence that the obverse and reverse dies had struck each other without a planchette in between at some point in the production cycle. And the minting anomalies don't stop there, because the retaining collar that normally keeps the planchette in perfect position during striking malfunctioned, producing a partial broad strike that allowed the metal to spread outward slightly beyond its intended boundaries, resulting in a penny that is slightly larger than standard with soft, distorted rims, and the edges themselves reveal an uneven lip and traces of reading-like impressions where there should be none, likely caused by the blank passing through improperly aligned machinery before final striking. And when you combine all of these elements, wrong planchette composition, off-center strike, double die obverse, wide AM reverse, die clash marks, broad strike, and edge anomalies, you end up with a coin that is not just rare but truly unique, with no other documented example in existence. And the odds of all these errors aligning perfectly on a single coin have been calculated by experts to be astronomically small, possibly 1 in several billion, making the existence of this coin something akin to winning the lottery multiple times in a row, And yet here it is, a tangible piece of minting history that somehow escaped detection at the mint, slipped into circulation, and survived in remarkable condition until it was discovered, and the story of that discovery is every bit as fascinating as the coin itself, because it wasn't found in an auction house or a dealer's stock, but rather in a roll of pennies obtained from a local bank by an amateur coin roll hunter who at first noticed only the off-center strike before quickly realizing the doubling on the obverse and the unusual AM spacing on the reverse. And upon further investigation, the heavier weight and warmer bronze tone raised suspicions that this might be something far more extraordinary. So the finder sent it to a top-tier grading service for authentication, where it was carefully examined under high magnification, tested for metal composition, and confirmed to be genuine in every detail, receiving a very high mint state grade given its lack of wear and overall sharpness, and the grading label included notations for each of the major errors, cementing its status as a unique multi-error specimen. And once news of its existence broke in the numismatic community, interest exploded, with high-profile collectors, museums, and investment groups all expressing interest in acquiring it. And when it eventually went to auction, the atmosphere was electric, with fierce bidding that quickly drove the price into the millions before ultimately reaching an astonishing final sale price of $50 million, shattering records for modern Lincoln cents and proving once again that rarity, uniqueness, and historical intrigue can combine to create astronomical value, and the legacy of this coin has been profound, inspiring a new wave of collectors to search through their change, examine every coin closely, and learn more about the fascinating world of minting errors, because the lesson here is clear: sometimes the smallest denomination can hold the greatest value, and a humble penny can be worth more than a mansion if it carries the right combination of anomalies. And the 1999 $50 million penny stands as a symbol of the unpredictable beauty of the minting process, where even with the most advanced technology, the occasional perfect storm of mistakes can slip through and create something so unique that it becomes priceless. And for anyone holding a penny from 1999, it's worth taking a moment to study it closely, check for doubling, examine the AM spacing, weigh it for possible composition anomalies, and look for any unusual strike features, because as this story proves, lightning can strike in the most unexpected places, and the next coin worth tens of millions of dollars might just be sitting unnoticed in your pocket change right now. Next 2002 D1 cent USA coin. Everyone, and get ready for one of the most mind-blowing, jaw-dropping, and downright unbelievable stories in the world of rare coins, because today we are going to take a deep, fascinating and extremely detailed dive into the incredible tale of a humble 2002 D Lincoln 1 cent coin that somehow, through an almost magical alignment of minting errors, mechanical mishaps, and rare production anomalies, has risen from being a coin worth just 1 cent to being valued at an astonishing $60 million. And if you think that sounds impossible, you are in for a treat, because by the time we go through every single detail of its creation, its errors, its journey, and its eventual discovery and sale, you will understand exactly why collectors, investors, and numismatic historians alike have been captivated by this extraordinary little piece of copper-plated history. So let's set the stage by rewinding back to the year 2002, when the United States Mint in Denver, Colorado was producing billions of Lincoln cents for everyday use, each made of a zinc core with a thin copper plating and each intended to be perfectly uniform. Yet, as with any high-speed industrial process involving precision dies, massive pressure, and high-volume output, things can sometimes go wrong. And in rare cases they go so wrong in such spectacular fashion that the result is not just a small curiosity but a one-of-a-kind masterpiece of minting misfortune. And that is exactly the case here, because this 2002 D penny contains a combination of multiple independent errors that are each rare in their own right, but together on a single coin, they form something that experts have described as virtually impossible. Starting with the fact that this coin was struck on the wrong planchet entirely, Not the expected copper-plated zinc planchette of its year, but on a leftover 95% copper bronze planchette from before 1982, something that theoretically should not exist in the Denver Mint's supply chain 20 years later, yet somehow a stray blank of that composition was fed into the striking chamber, giving this coin a heavier weight of 3.11 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams and a warmer reddish tone visible even through the aging of its surfaces, and if that alone were the only anomaly it would already be worth thousands. But this coin didn't stop there, because when it entered the striking chamber, the dies themselves were already compromised, with the obverse die bearing a strong doubled die variety that caused clear doubling in Lincoln's profile, the date, and the motto, "In God We Trust," producing a ghost-like, almost three-dimensional effect under magnification, while the reverse die was not only misaligned but also carried the rare close AM variety where the letters A and M in America are almost touching, a feature normally reserved for proof coins of the era but somehow paired with a business strike from Denver. And to make matters even stranger, the coin was struck significantly off-center by nearly 15%, leaving an arc of blank planchette on one side and pushing the design toward the opposite edge, which in turn caused a partial collar malfunction, resulting in a broad strike that allowed the metal to spread slightly beyond its intended diameter, creating soft, wide rims that blend into the design fields. And if you examine the reverse carefully under high magnification, you can also spot the faint outlines of Lincoln's bust between the columns of the Lincoln Memorial, a clear sign of a dramatic die clash that occurred when the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette in place, imprinting part of their designs onto one another before striking this coin. And adding yet another layer to its mystique is the fact that the planchette itself exhibits incomplete copper plating, with small areas of exposed zinc on the edges where the plating either wore thin or failed during production, something that in itself is an error known as a plating blister or peeling, and all of this occurred while the coin was produced in an unusually late die state, meaning the dies had been used far beyond their optimal lifespan, resulting in noticeable die cracks running through parts of the design, especially a dramatic crack running from the rim through Lincoln's head, which some collectors affectionately refer to as a spiked head error. And the sheer improbability of all these factors coexisting on one single coin is staggering, with expert numismatists estimating the odds at many billions to one, and yet here this coin exists, a perfect storm of rarity that somehow escaped the mint's quality control process, made its way into circulation, and survived without significant wear until its eventual discovery, which in itself is a story worth telling, because this coin was not found in a high-profile collection or at a rare coin dealer's table, but in a simple roll of pennies obtained from a small-town bank by an amateur coin roll hunter who at first noticed the off-center strike before realizing the doubling on the obverse, the unusual AM spacing on the reverse, and the heavier weight, prompting them to send it to a leading third-party grading service where it was authenticated, graded at an impressive mint state level, and given an extensive error attribution on the label listing every one of its unusual characteristics. And when word got out about this coin, the numismatic world erupted with excitement, drawing interest from top-tier collectors, museums, and investment groups who recognized that this was not just a rare coin but a once-in-a-lifetime piece of minting history, leading to a frenzied auction where competitive bidding drove the final sale price to an eye-watering $60 million, breaking records for modern Lincoln cents and cementing its place as one of the most valuable coins ever produced by the United States Mint, and its legacy has inspired countless collectors to more carefully examine their change, to weigh their pennies, to check for doubled dies, off-center strikes, and unusual design varieties, because if this story teaches us anything, it's that even the smallest, most ordinary-looking coin can harbor a hidden fortune if it was born under the rarest and most improbable conditions imaginable, and somewhere out there in circulation, tucked away in a jar, or hidden in a forgotten roll, another miracle of the mint could be waiting to be discovered, just like the extraordinary 2002 $60 million penny that stands as a shining example of how beauty, rarity, and value can emerge from the tiniest and humblest objects. Next, 2015 D1 cent USA coin. Everyone to another exciting and eye-opening journey into the incredible world of rare coins where small details can mean gigantic fortunes, and today we are diving into one of the most extraordinary and jaw-dropping discoveries in modern numismatic history, the story of a 2015 D Lincoln 1 cent coin that has been valued at a staggering $80 million, not because it was struck in gold or encrusted with diamonds, but because of the unbelievably rare and fascinating combination of mint errors and production anomalies that came together in such a unique way that experts believe this coin is truly one of a kind and may never be replicated again. And as you hear each detail about what makes it so valuable, you'll begin to understand why collectors from around the globe were willing to push its price to record-breaking heights. So let's set the scene in 2015, when the Denver Mint was operating at full capacity, producing hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents for everyday use each one. Made from the standard copper-plated zinc planchette weighing 2.5 grams and featuring the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse with the shield reverse design that had been introduced in 2010, replacing the Lincoln Memorial. But while most coins struck that year were completely ordinary, this one was anything but, because the story of this $80 million penny begins with a planchette error so rare it could easily go unnoticed unless you were paying very close attention. Instead of being struck on the standard copper-plated zinc planchette, this particular coin was accidentally struck on a leftover experimental multi-layered alloy planchette that the Mint had been testing for durability and cost efficiency in the years prior to 2015, a composition never intended for public release, and which gave the coin a weight slightly different from normal, along with a faintly different color tone under certain lighting, already making it an anomaly worth thousands on its own. But that's just scratching the surface, because when you examine the obverse you immediately notice a dramatic double die that affects multiple elements of the design, including the date, the word liberty, and the motto "I in God we trust," with such strong separation that it can be seen with the naked eye, and under magnification it becomes clear that the doubling is crisp and well-defined, the kind that serious collectors dream of finding. Then as your eyes move to the reverse, you're hit with yet another major variety. This coin shows a rare misaligned design where the Union shield is shifted slightly upward and rotated in a way that reveals extra details at the bottom and crowds the lettering of United States of America at the top, something that shouldn't happen under normal minting conditions, and this misalignment appears to have been caused by improper die installation in the press. But the parade of errors doesn't stop there, because the coin was also struck slightly off-center by about 12%, leaving a blank crescent-shaped area on one edge while still retaining a full readable date and mint mark, which makes it especially desirable to error collectors who value both the off-center strike and the presence of complete identifying details. And if that weren't enough, there are clear signs of a die clash where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette in place, leaving faint mirrored impressions of Lincoln's profile in the shield and elements of the shield within Lincoln's coat, something you just don't see every day, adding even more intrigue to this coin's story, as if fate itself was conspiring to make it unique. The plating on certain high points of the coin shows tiny blisters and areas where the copper layer has partially separated from the core, revealing flashes of the silvery zinc-colored alloy underneath, and these plating anomalies themselves are considered collectible error types known as plating blisters or peeling, and they contribute further to its long list of exceptional features. And to top it all off, the dies used to strike this coin were heavily worn, producing raised die cracks that look like lightning bolts running through parts of the obverse and reverse, including one dramatic crack that starts at the rim and runs right through Lincoln's head, creating what collectors call a spiked head variety. So here we have a coin that combines an experimental transitional planchette, an incredibly strong double die, a misaligned reverse design, and off center strike, a dramatic die clash, multiple plating blisters, and significant die cracks all in one. And experts agree that the odds of such a combination occurring are astronomically small, and the fact that this coin survived mint quality control and entered circulation only adds to the wonder of its existence. The story of its discovery is equally fascinating, as it was found not by a seasoned dealer or auction house but by an everyday hobbyist who had been searching bankrolls for interesting coins for years. This person noticed the off-center strike immediately and weighed the coin out of curiosity, finding it was slightly off from the expected 2.5 grams, which set off a chain of further examinations using a magnifying glass and then a microscope, revealing the doubling, the misalignment, the clash marks, and the die cracks. After confirming their suspicions, they sent the coin to a top-tier grading service where it was authenticated, graded in an ultra-high mint state condition, and given one of the longest error descriptions ever seen on a slab label. The news of this coin's existence spread like wildfire through online coin forums, social media groups, and numismatic publications, sparking intense interest from collectors, investors, and even museums. And when it was finally placed in a high-profile auction, the bidding war was fierce, with multiple parties determined to secure what they saw as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own the rarest known 2015 D. Lincoln Cent. The hammer eventually fell at an unbelievable $80 million, setting a world record for a modern US 1-cent coin and cementing this piece as one of the most legendary numismatic finds in history. Since then, it has become an almost mythical object in coin collecting circles, inspiring both new and seasoned collectors to pay closer attention to the change in their pockets, to weigh coins, to study them for doubling, misalignments, and subtle errors. Because the moral of this story is clear: treasures can hide in plain sight, and the smallest coin can hold the biggest surprise. This 2015 D penny stands as living proof that even in our modern age of precise technology, the minting process can still produce miracles, and if you know what to look for, you just might be the one to uncover the next great numismatic legend worth millions. Last 1989 1-cent USA coin. Everyone to another thrilling deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins, where today we are going to unravel the unbelievable story of a 1989 Lincoln 1-cent coin that has shocked collectors, numismatists, and investors alike by reaching an astonishing value of $70 million, a number so high for such a small piece of copper-plated zinc that it almost seems like a work of fiction until you realize just how rare, extraordinary, and historically significant this particular specimen is. And by the time you hear every detail of its strange journey from the Denver Mint to the hands of an astounded collector, you will understand why this coin is unlike any other in existence. So let's take a step back to 1989, a year when the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents for everyday circulation, each one meant to be identical, uniform, and utterly ordinary. Yet, as with any high-speed minting operation involving steel dies, high-pressure presses, and massive quantities of blanks, there is always the possibility for mistakes, and in some cases, those mistakes converge in such a spectacular way that they create something truly unique. And this coin is the perfect example of that, because it contains not one, not two, but an almost unbelievable number of major minting errors, each of which is rare on its own, but together make for a coin so improbable that experts estimate the odds of its creation at well over 1 in several billion, starting with the most obvious anomaly: the fact that this 1989 1-cent was struck on a transitional planchette, meaning that instead of the standard copper-plated zinc planchette weighing 2.5 grams that was in use for 1989, this coin was struck on a leftover bronze planchette composed of 95% copper and weighing 3.11 grams, a composition that had been phased out in 1982, and yet somehow a blank from the earlier era remained in the mint's inventory and was fed into the press, immediately making this coin unusual. But that's just the beginning, because upon close inspection of the obverse you can see dramatic doubling in the date, Lincoln's eye, and the motto, "In God We Trust," evidence of a strong double die obverse, a variety that collectors prize for its visual impact and rarity. And if that weren't enough, the reverse features the highly coveted wide AM variety, where the letters A and M in America are spaced noticeably farther apart than on normal business strikes of the year. A feature typically reserved for proof coin dies, but accidentally used here on a circulation strike. And to add yet another layer of complexity, the coin was struck slightly off-center by about 10%, creating a crescent-shaped blank area on one edge while simultaneously causing a partial collar strike, which allowed the metal to expand slightly beyond its intended diameter and created soft, spread-out rims. And when you flip the coin over and examine it under magnification, you'll notice traces of a dramatic die clash where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette in place, transferring faint outlines of Lincoln's bust into the fields of the reverse between the columns of the Lincoln Memorial, and even more astonishingly, small areas of missing copper plating on the edges reveal the zinc core beneath, creating what is known as a plating blister or peeling, another recognized error type, and to top it all off, the dies that struck this coin were in an advanced state of wear, producing noticeable die cracks, including a particularly prominent crack running through Lincoln's head, often nicknamed a spiked head error by collectors, and the combination of transitional planchette, doubled die, wide AM, off-center strike, partial collar, die clash, plating errors, and die cracks is not only visually striking but also historically significant because it represents a literal intersection of minting mistakes that spanned both design elements and physical processes, making this coin not just a curiosity but a tangible record of the complexities and imperfections of the minting process in that era. And the story of how it came to light is just as compelling because it wasn't discovered by a veteran dealer or a museum but by an everyday hobbyist who was going through a roll of pennies from a local bank, initially spotting the unusual wide AM reverse before realizing the weight was heavier than normal, and upon sending it to a leading third-party grading service it was authenticated, certified in a high mint state grade, and given an unusually long error attribution on the label that spelled out each of its many anomalies, and when news of its existence spread through numismatic circles it created a frenzy, with top-tier collectors and investment groups lining up to bid when it came to auction, ultimately driving the hammer price to an eye-watering $70 million, setting a record for a modern Lincoln cent and proving once again that even the smallest, most unassuming coin in your change can hide unimaginable value if it was created under the rarest and most improbable circumstances, and this remarkable 1989 cent has since become an icon in the hobby, inspiring collectors to weigh their coins, check for doubled dies, inspect letter spacing, and examine rims and surfaces for signs of minting anomalies, because if there's one lesson this story teaches, it's that the thrill of numismatics lies in the possibility that somewhere, in an unsearched roll, a forgotten jar, or the bottom of a drawer, another once-in-a-lifetime treasure might be waiting to be discovered, just like the $70,001,989 penny that will forever stand as a testament to the extraordinary potential hidden in the most ordinary of objects.